because I think the problem that you talked about is a universal problem. It's not just TikTok. It's not just China. It is Facebook. It's Twitter. It's YouTube. It's all of these. It's Google. That we're all being manipulated by algorithms that are extraordinarily powerful propaganda devices.
And they're influenced by the intelligence agencies domestically inside of the United States.
It's not just influence. They are,
They're running it, and they're banning people, and they're censoring people, and they have censored you before as well for expressing your speech and expressing larger concerns.
I'm probably the most censored person in the country.
And you were right about a lot of the things that you were censored for.
You're on the list. I don't know if you're the most censored person.
Who would be more? Arguably, I would say I am. And I won the lawsuit, and even in the Murthy versus Biden lawsuit, if you read Judge Doty's decision, 155 pages, the bulk of it is about me, because I was the first one that they officially started to censor 37 hours after he took the oath of office. The White House was directing Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube to remove me from their platforms. They took off my Instagram account, and they were obsessed with censoring me from the beginning.
Yes, I agree with Robert.
Let me just say this. What I think that the way that I would handle this if I was, the king of the world, is that I think that all of them should be forced to have transparent algorithms. Yeah. Because any algorithm that you have is going to manipulate you. Right. So if you pass a law that says if you're going to operate in this country, you need a transparent algorithm, then you, Tim, choose your own. You choose a libertarian algorithm. I might choose right now, if you're a Democrat, you're living next door to a Republican, and you both ask the same question of Google or whatever, you're going to get two different answers, because they're going to give you the answer that's going to keep you on the site the longest, and they know that people like that they'll stay on longer if you're fortifying their worldviews. So they're pouring concrete on it. But if you can choose your own algorithm, then at least you know how you're being manipulated. You choose a Republican algorithm, a Democratic algorithm, and then you can say that to TikTok, and it's not about China. It's about, hey, if you want to operate in this country, you use a transparent algorithm, because we're a democracy, and we want to avoid all kinds of manipulation, whether they're by our intelligence agencies or by yours.
I agree. That's something we should absolutely do. But that is still akin to putting the label on, you buy a pack of cigarettes and it's got a diseased lung on it. People are still going to buy them. So my concern with
okay, so what's your solution? Shut them all down?
Well, I think with the TikTok bill, the idea that a foreign adversary, namely one of I think it's 5 countries, can't have investment in specifically TikTok, I don't see as I see as a net positive. The thing that concerns me is, this morning we did an interview with Tuan, who escaped the Chinese Communist Party, and they talked about their strategies, their worldview, how they operate. And we can see a lot of that reflected in how TikTok promotes certain content. So you've got teenagers being fed content where guys are saying, hate your parents, don't talk to your parents. You've got individuals that are living, they're encouraging self-harm and things like this. You mentioned why is Tourette's is one of the mental afflictions on the rise. There was a study that found women, young girls, were watching viral TikToks and Instagrams of a woman with Tourette's, and then began adapting this as a social, contagion of some sort, started developing Tourette's on their own from it. China is absolutely invested in causing friction, at the very least, and harm, in the worst case, through these platforms. I think when the divestiture bill, aka the ban bill, gets passed, the response from TikTok immediately was, we will never sell, we will never back down, we will lay off our staff before we let you take this from us. I think shows that there's a great degree that this is more of an economic weapon than it is just a social media platform business they have. I mean, it's crazy to me that we learned from the CEO, what did he say? 175 million people use the app, and many of them are U.S. businesses. Why do we allow the CCP control over any portion of our economy, especially to that size? So I don't want them buying farmland. I don't want them buying real estate. And I don't want them buying a digital portion of our market that we can't regulate or control, because so the transparency is good, but
the the control that China has of our market, because of TikTok, it's like a drop in the ocean compared to the hundreds of trillions of dollars in U.S. dollars that they own.
Totally agree. And BlackRock's
So
way worse.
There's a million things that China's doing that are worse than TikTok. And
So
listen, I'm an absolutist when it comes to free speech. I think that, we ought to have, and there's other reasons that we want to preserve TikTok, which is it's a gateway for young kids. We have a whole generation of kids who are not, have no entree, they have no equity, and they're never going to own a home. They have no way to get into business, to finance business, and they're building businesses on TikTok. And I don't want to take that away from them. I see so many hopeless people who come up to me and say, I made a life for myself. I made a place for myself. I have self-esteem because of it. And now the government's going to shut me down. 80% of TikTok is owned by Americans.
Because Douyin is the Chinese app.
Yeah, there's two. Yeah.
And theirs is all patriotism.
Listen, I agree there is an issue, but for me, you and I are going to differ on this because I just am a free speech absolutist, and I think this is feeding into the neocon narratives that we need to be in a war posture against China.
I don't disagree, but I feel like it's kind of like saying I'm a free market absolutist. I don't mind that China is sending fentanyl over the southern border because people have a right to buy whatever they want.
Yeah, well, that's not. I don't agree with that. I don't think this is fentanyl, though.
Mr. Kennedy, you mentioned the transparency of algorithms, and it brought to mind something that is an issue that we are facing with China, and that's intellectual property. And I know interesting here talking about intellectual property at the Libertarian Committee or
Convention.
National Convention, but there is a problem with China and with industrial espionage and stuff. Do you think that there's a role that the federal government should play in trying to assist corporations that are U.S. based, or try to give some kind of incentive to have corporations to be less, I guess, in bed with China, or a little more opposed to being so easy to work with China, considering the threat that China's...
Well, China bought off the Biden administration. They effectively instituted a lot of the policies for them already. And then
Mr. Kennedy, what do you think about industrial espionage and stuff? Do you think the federal government has a role for that?
I think China has a system that has been in place since Deng Xiaoping to steal technology from Western nations and from the United States. I've written chapters about this in my book about Wuhan. I think it's very, very worrying. I think they've infiltrated most of the universities in our country, that they're systematically stealing patents. I've done business in China, and the whole business model is to steal patents from Western companies, and most of the businesses that I've dealt with will not deal in China because of this kind of because of the patent issue. And you have companies like Microsoft. Microsoft has sold its soul to China. It's developing all of the surveillance and the control and the compliance technologies in China. Bill Gates could not attract enough innovators in the United States to compete against his competitor Apple and the other Google and all the other competitors.
Yeah, and Bill Gates is building mini nuclear reactors right now with the Chinese government. I want to talk about Bill Gates a little bit because he kind of bragged about going after you inside of the Trump administration. But it's also the CIA that worked with China, especially when it came to EcoHealth Alliance and the Wuhan laboratory. So there's a lot of other connections here that do deserve to be made. But Bill Gates was one of the few individuals that actually came out on national television, and he said that he was able to thwart your efforts, that you had private meetings with Donald Trump and you were working towards achieving some goals together on helping the American people, specifically regarding health. Bill Gates said he came in there and then he was able to influence Trump not to do what you wanted. Is there anything else that you could speak to about this? Because it does seem like he does have a larger influence over Trump. No, I mean, I don't know exactly what happened. Bill Gates in January of 20... Sorry.
You can always just pull it towards you.
In January of 2016, asked me to come to and this is when he had first gotten elected, and he asked me to come to New York and to meet with him. And I spent the day with him and with his sons and with Steve Bannon and Hope Hill and Kellyanne Conway and Mike Pence. And they asked me to run a vaccine safety commission, to chair it and put together, esteemed, respected scientists from all over the world to look at the testing protocols for vaccines, to make recommendations about how to improve them. And this made huge headlines when it was announced. And Pfizer immediately gave President Trump $1 million. And President Trump then appointed 2 Pfizer nominees, Alex Azar, who came out of Eli Lilly to run HHS, and then Scott Gottlieb, who is Pfizer's business partner, to run the FDA. And Scott Gottlieb did a $100 billion favor for Pfizer with the vaccine, and then left FDA to go back to work for Pfizer and collect his payoff. And at the same time, so I don't know whether it was the $1 million from Pfizer. And those are the 2 guys who shut down the commission. Bill Gates, there's a tape out there where Bill Gates is bragging that he got Trump to disavow me. So, I can't look into his head, and I can't look into Trump's head, so I can't tell you exactly what happened.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe, and we'll see you all there.